Hello, everybody, and welcome to our session on storytellers. Today, we've got a very exciting guest joining us, Mr. Karan Singh, a very proud owner of a beautiful boutique property in Simla, which is up in the hills, North India, in Himachal Pradesh. It's called Jungle House. Mr. Singh, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking our time to be with us and share your thoughts and your story about the Jungle House.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Can you tell us a little about the property, the inspiration behind the property, a little history? I know there's a lot of history in that property, which goes all the way back to the British Raj. So we'd love to hear something about, about the history part of the property.
Well, thank you. And I think, that's interesting because Jungle House was the summer home of the Princess of Bharatpur, Princess Kusum, as she was affectionately called. The earliest mention of this house is the 1880s, where it features on a government map of Simla, as they used to call it at that time. Early English settler bought this property from a shepherd, and he built the original cottage. And then in the early 1900s, this property passed into the hands of a family, which at that time owned and managed some of the most storied hotels in North India, including, I'm told, Wildflower Hall. And it was interesting because in 1940, my grandmother, who at that time used to live in England, she decided to return to India at the outbreak of the Second World War. So she came back to India accompanied by her infant son, that's my mama, and his English nanny. And when she came back, she went up to Simla because, she had enjoyed wonderful, happy days in her youth at her father's summer home, which was called Peter's Field, the Maharaja Bharatpur's property at that time in Simla. So she was determined to have her own home and set out to find the perfect place. And in what can only be called serendipitous, she was out for a picnic with her cousins up on Jaku, and she came across the cottage. This is the sweet part of the story. She immediately fell in love with this place and reached out to the owner, who it appears at that time was obviously looking also to sell. The owner at the same time fell in love with the nanny. So my grandmother, or BBG as she was fondly called, she found herself a Jungle House. And the happy couple got married, and we hear that they lived happily ever after. So that was a happy beginning. And after that, the property has been in our family.
That's lovely. Can you tell us a little about the two suites that you have?
The property itself, we offer two exquisite suites in a stone cottage, which combines contemporary style with colonial hill architecture. Cottage has been meticulously renovated to preserve its original features, while at the same time to offer exceptional levels and what people would expect, levels of modern luxury and comfort with teak floors, high ceilings, sumptuous furnishings, exquisite bathrooms, original artworks and breathtaking scenery. Each of these generously proportioned suites have been very carefully and thoughtfully designed to help you unwind and to enjoy the finer things in life, while at the same time to reflect, the unique heritage of Jungle House and also give a strong sense of place. And we've tried to do the same thing with even the amenities, which have been, very thoughtfully and carefully selected. For example, instead of a bedspread for the color which hotels do, we have actually got Himachali Pashmina throws. Because the idea being that if someone wants to snuggle up on a sofa or a chair and read a book, they can tuck themselves into a nice shawl and sort of enjoy it. Similarly, in the bathroom, this was an idea that we had. We've actually positioned our tubs next to the window. So you can actually, in winter, you can luxuriate in the tub, and while you can watch the snowflakes sort of drift by the window.
Wow.
And we hope that people actually enjoy all of these things. The idea is to, let people just enjoy and get a sense. The stone cottage itself, is set in the property's garden. So if we may say, the gardens are my mother's passion. So it's set in, beautifully designed and laid out gardens. They assure each of the guests unparalleled and, if I may say, exceptional privacy and intimacy. And then we have, of course, lawns, manicured lawns on various levels, a rose arbor in the fragrant nooks. We've got a rustic fire pit. And now my latest passion, my current project is to do a hillside meadow of wildflowers.
Wow.
So all of these, lend themselves as a nice little setting for whether you want to enjoy a brisk game of croquet with your friend or your partner on the lawn, or to enjoy a quiet read, a book, or even for for a nice romantic evening under the stars. So the whole idea has been designed around, enjoying the outdoors, the place.
Yeah, I think we're all up there right now with you. We can still see the snowflakes looking out.
We do. We get a tremendous snowfall at least twice a year up there on the hill.
That's right. That's right. And Mr. Singh, in terms of the food, what is the food like? I mean, are you serving local food? Is it locally sourced? Sustainability? I mean, what are those aspects that you've kept in mind?
Absolutely. Sustainability in form. So again, sustainability takes so many forms. So that is one of our key sort of pillars, if you may say. For one, yes, our chef has been with us for many, many years. He's been with us for the family for over 30 years. He's also trained in some of the nicest hotels in India. Our idea on food, and I think that's an essential part of our holiday. The guiding principle, if you say what we offer, is that we would really like to offer our guests the comforts of home in a gracious country house setting. In terms of food, we hope to start our guests off on a sumptuous breakfast, which has elements of Indian breakfast as well as I think we specialize in some of the finest pancakes, and I can assure you. And all of these served with homemade preserves. All the preserves are all homemade. And then after that, of course, lunch. And if guests do wish to be in, we would love to serve them. And then we welcome them back with an evening tea with savories, with some all homemade savories, pastries, cakes, a selection of finely cut sandwiches, and a large selection of teas and coffee. And after our guests have had some time to relax and sort of refresh, we will invite them pre-dinner for a sundowner or aperitivo hour, as I saw in Lake Como, and we've decided that even in Simla we should have an aperitivo where we'd love to serve them some refreshments followed by dinner. We want to focus on locally sourced ingredients as much as possible, and we are very, very keen to source, and we are, and that's what we do. We source as much as we can for produce that is grown in and around the Simla Hills. So from our salads to our fruit, we bake our breads at home. All our preserves, pickles, jams are all made from fruit from Himachal and vegetables.
Of course.
And we have a fairly wide selection for our guests to choose. Again, I go back to the comforts of home. Rather than us place a menu in front of them at the end of in the evening, we would rather that they choose as they would do in their own homes. So we are going to request them that 24 hours out, the previous evening, if they can choose the dinner, our chef will source the ingredients and we'll cook a fresh meal for them the following evening. So both vegetarian and non-vegetarian, obviously, and selections which include, some of the specials of Indian cuisine, Pahadi cuisine, continental, and elements of Mediterranean as well as Oriental food. And our speciality, if I may say so, and if I can tempt you with that, love to tempt you up to Jungle House. Our speciality is our dessert section.
Oh.
We take a lot of pride in our desserts, in our puddings, which are all done. And all of this is done at home.
I see. Put on lots of calorie and then go for a hike or something.
Then go for a walk. So a big breakfast, as I said, to prepare you for all the adventures. Because Simla,
I got that. And, for our viewers who don't know Simla, who are sitting out of India and they don't know Simla, and what would you say is the highlight of the destination?
Well, Simla itself is very close to my heart. As I said, it is a magical, and this was one of the objectives when we set out on this. This, as I had mentioned, is, it's a passion project which has been 35 years in the making from when I just left college and I was about to join the hotel industry. So two things here. One is, of course, Jungle House itself. Jungle House itself sort of lends itself as a perfect place to a location to celebrate the outdoors, whatever the weather. You can go out on walks, and I don't know if you've been following, and I'm sure you have. The Japanese now have this concept, well, not now, but they've always had this concept of Shinrin-yoku, or jungle bathing. And the Norwegians have gone back to their concept of friluftsliv, which I think openly translates to something like free or open air living. The idea is to celebrate the outdoors, to get in touch with the outdoors, and to slow down, to get to feel the woods, to smell the woods, and we've all known that this is really, really, it helps you de-stress, it helps you re-energize, to recharge. So that's one. And from where we are located, we offer some beautiful walks from either side across Jakku Hill. I think Shimla has a lot to offer. So Simla it was known as the Queen of Hill Stations. It has got a plethora of lovely architectural wonders across. And I'm delighted that some of them the government is working on now to refurbish and redo. There's some lovely old antique books and antique stores where you can browse and you can delve into the history. Along with that, of course, if people are a little more adventurous, before that, I mean, from our home, it's a 500-meter walk up to Jakku Hill, which in itself is it's one of the iconic destinations and places of worship in India. They say Lord Hanuman rested there on his flight down to Sri Lanka when he had booty. So it's beautiful to visit Jakku temple. It's been wonderfully preserved by the temple trust. We work with very, very carefully vetted partners for jungle walks, even down to the catchment area behind Mashobra. Or someone may enjoy a round of golf at Naldera, which is one of the unique and one of the oldest golf courses in India, 7,000 feet, with a lot of history again. If someone wishes and they have the expertise, we can set up a motorcycle safari from Simla, personally managed by one of India's foremost rallyists, and the person who actually ran the Raid the Himalaya, Vijay Parmar, who's one of India's really famous rally drivers and rally riders. We work with him, and we work with other partners for some very carefully curated experiences for people. So Simla has a lot to offer. Simla has these, Simla is magical because on the one hand, you've got all the heritage, you've got this fairy tale city with lovely old castles and homes and, legends and stories and ghost stories for those that want them. In winter, we'd love to we will set it up so that we can help our guests go ice skating on the open air ice skating rink.
Yeah.
Or further up, if the snows and God permits and the seasons permit, we will help set up skiing in Narkanda. One of the things that we love doing is to set up a fireside chat in Jungle House. Now, we'd be happy to do it by a fire pit or in our library. So things like this, carefully curated, something that is of meaning, something that people will take back with them. So that's really our hope. Our hope is that they celebrate and they enjoy their little holiday and it stays with them when they go to Simla and they want to come back to Himachal for more.
Yeah, it sounds like the whole experience sounds like a celebration. It sounds beautiful. Really good luck with the property, Mr. Singh.
Thank
you. Just to end it, if your grandmother was looking down right now, what would she say about the property?
My grandmother loved to entertain. She was a very strong-willed woman. India has very, very strong and very, through history, we've had some wonderful, very strong women and leaders in our country. We've been lucky with that. And she was well known in the hills and she loved entertaining and having people over. So I think she would be delighted. I think if she was to look down, she'd be so happy that there are people coming and experiencing this home that she fell in love with and who are actually enjoying those lawns and those fragrant little rose arbors and things that she designed herself.
Oh, I think that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And on that happy and really dreamy note, thank you so much for joining us and good luck with the property.
Thank you very much for having me.